Bada boom, bada bang. Blake Lively is looking worse and worse by the day with this new secret sham lawsuit that has just been revealed. We're going to get into it and how this whole legal saga unfolded because, yes, it ties back to Taylor Swift. Get ready for it. Let's dive. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. Hi guys, welcome on in, welcome on in, welcome on in. Happy Friday. Oh my god, I was going to say Thursday, but it's actually Friday. I had such a fun night last night. I went out with my friend Giorgio. Giorgio says, I don't know if you guys follow him on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. Oh, Shelby just got her mommy salute shirt. Yay. Awesome. Um, I went out. I had dinner at Craig's. I was supposed to. Okay, so it was supposed to be me, Donna Bowling, Chef Stu, and Giorgio. Right? Chef Stu texts all of us. He puts us all in a group that he's like, Giorgio's in town because Giorgio went to the Universal thing that I went to this week as well, which I talked about on the podcast yesterday. And Stu's like, Giorgio's in town. Let's all go to dinner. Right? Sorry, one second. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Went to Craig's. Had a great time. But so Stu at the last minute's like, oh, I know I set up this dinner, but I forgot I made other plans before. I think he went to the Magic Castle. I don't know. He did something. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then Donna's like, well, I guess, she backed out too. And she's like, well, I have kids and I need a babysitter. And I'm like, okay, fine. You bailed too. But I was like, I was already planning on going to dinner. It's his last night in LA. Like, yeah, let's go. I'll take you to dinner. So we went to Craig's, had a lovely steak and fries, and the Craig's bread is the Craig's bread. Like Craig's is, and I had a lovely 5 p.m. dinner because that's 5 or 6 p.m. is when dinner should be happening if you're going out to dinner. I don't go to dinner at 8. I don't go to dinner at 9, and I'm certainly not going to dinner at 10. Okay? People that do that are monsters. I'm in bed by 9:30 normally, right? Sometimes even 8:30. I'm not gonna lie, but it's because I wake up at 4:30 every day, 4:30. Today I had to sleep in though. Skip the gym because I had a little too much drink. But we went to Craig's. I had one martini, right? Because Craig's martinis are classic. And then I was like, let's go to Tom Tom. So we ended up walking over to Tom Tom. And, even though obviously Lisa Vanderpump was a monster to me the other day when I saw her at the Hulu event, it's okay. But we went to Tom Tom and went to have a happy hour drink. And again, this is still early in the day. So like there aren't a lot of people. By the time we left Craig's, it was starting to fill up and like more people were coming. So I was like, okay, now we can go to Tom Tom. And it's early before it gets like busy. And so we went to grab a drink at the bar. And then next thing you know it, Schwartz ended up being there. And then I guess they were filming for the reboot, the Vanderpump Rules reboot, because then the new cast members come in and they're filming and they're like, can you sign a release form? And I was like, sure. And so I didn't stay very long. Well, actually, I was like, I left kind of early. And then I looked at my Uber and I was like, oh, I left at 10 p.m. I didn't realize I was there until 10 p.m. Dinner at 5. And then I stayed out until 10 and had lots of drinks. And then I met this lovely couple and I was like, let me buy you guys shots. And then I bought a round of shots. And then they were like, let us buy shots. And they bought a round of shots. And it was just way too many. Way too many. Way too many. But it was a great time. I had fun. It was a lot of fun. I had so much fun. Yeah. A monster. I want the tea. I gave the tea the other day. Like she like would not acknowledge me. I went to the Hulu invited me to their Vanderpump Villa premiere party, which was very lovely. Ambiance, food, drinks, everything lovely. Stassi showed her lovely. I mean, Stassi is always lovely. I will tell you right now, Stassi is one person that does not have an ego. And when people want to say hi to her or talk to her, take photos with her, like she's the only one that will actually, or at least at this party, because at one point her and Lisa were taking photos and then people then like wanted to take photos with them. So then there was like this line that was forming because everyone wanted to get in line to get a photo with them. And then Lisa like snuck off and left Stassi there. And Stassi stood there and took photos and selfies and videos and TikToks with everybody that wanted to take a photo with her at this event. Lisa did not. So it was just, that to me is very telling of their personalities. But yeah, Lisa snubbed me very deliberately 3 times at that event and like would not even acknowledge me, would not look at me, would not say hi to me. Like it was very strange. Amy says my merch is being delivered today. Yay! Thanks, guys. I'm gonna have that announcement to you soon with the merch and the total. We're just waiting for the final calculations, and sometimes the calculations and the payouts, it's not very instant. So as soon as that goes through, I'm going to make the donation to No More. Don't worry, I will give it all. Purple Yellow says, Stassi has an ego. Please stop. I'm on the show, sure. When she's playing a reality star, or, person on reality TV, things are very different. But I'm saying in person, and I've met her a number of times now, no ego. Absolutely not. I think I've met her 4 times. Yeah, she was on my podcast, like, always great. Okay, let's move on because I know we're all here to talk about the Blake Lively subpoena and the lawsuit, the sham lawsuit, as the Daily Mail is calling it. And then I guess apparently Without a Crystal Ball reported on this first, so I want to give credit to Without a Crystal Ball. I believe she was the first person to talk about it, I think, on YouTube. I haven't watched her YouTube video, but I did read this in the Daily Mail this morning. I don't know if they have the same source. I don't know how they came to the same information at the same time, or if the Daily Mail snubbed her and like took the story from her. I don't know all the details. I just know I read this in the Daily Mail, but I was told that this was originally from Without a Crystal Ball. So just throwing that out there. Okay, but we'll get into it because it is so shady. And then there's this lawyer or this person on Threads. What's her name? MJ something. And she's like going off, and she's just like, you don't know. And I was just like, let's get into it. Let's get into all of it. Carrie says, Without a Crystal Ball was on YouTube yesterday with all the info. There you go. You can watch Without a Crystal Ball's video, and I'm sure there's, more to the story that I'll probably watch after this so I can get more of those details. But I'm just going to cover what was in the Daily Mail article this morning because that's what I read, and that's where I got the info coming into this. But it is so shady, okay? Shady. I think Blake Lively, this is very clearly a well thought out plan. Okay, Daily Dose of Donna says, definitely Without a Crystal Ball came up with it first. Okay, there's no disputing that. Donna has thrown down the gavel. She's given me my spanking. She says, give all the credit to Without a Crystal Ball. And Googe, give Googe the credit too. Give all the credit to Googe. And give all the credit to who else? Be Better. All the people there. Candace Owens. Give the credit to Candace Owens. These are jokes, guys. Don't get mad at me. Then I'm going to have like Crystal Ball in my DMs and be like, why did you give credit to Candace Owens? And I'm like, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's an inside joke. But all the credit to Candace Owens, the creator. And I like Candace Owens. I don't mean to shade her. All right, we're going to get into it. Let's very quickly, a quick message from our sponsors, and then we'll dive into the tea. Let's talk about weight loss. We all know somebody taking the Ozempic or something similar to shed the pounds, right? Well, now it's a staggering 13 million Americans who are taking a drug for a disease they don't even have. Talk about scary. There are now class action lawsuits linked to side effects for non-diabetics like gastrointestinal issues, pancreatitis, kidney problems, and even some cancers. I know. We all think we're invincible, right? But do you really think it's worth risking your health? Do you struggle with cravings, have a slow metabolism, maybe some stubborn fat? You're not alone. The experts at the Wellness Company's medical board have developed a new, safer option to help curb appetite by working with your body's GLP-1 hormones without a prescription or painful shots. Introducing Drop, a breakthrough GLP-1 peptide that targets hormones to assist in improving metabolism and blood sugar balance, plus hunger reduction. Just a few flawless drops in your water each morning for some serious weight loss on your terms. Summer's around the corner, and if you've been looking for an alternative that doesn't involve shots, it's time to drop it like it's hot, minus the needles. Head to twc.health/nofilter and use code NOFILTER to save $75 off your first month supply. That's twc.health/nofilter and use code NOFILTER to save $75 off your first month. Go right now. Make this your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. Get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors. Factor meals arrive fresh, ready to eat, perfect for any active lifestyle. like mine. With 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. Choose from Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. I'm currently on the Protein Plus. We're trying to bulk up, right? Urgh. Factor powers your day with satisfying breakfasts, on the go lunches, premium dinners, and guilt free snacks and desserts. It's easy to savor more this spring. Factor meals pack in flavor without any of the fuss. I know with me, if I've had a long day of taping, if I've been at an event, or I've been running around all day with the dogs, it's so nice to not have to come home and then make a mess in the kitchen by cooking and then having to clean. Factor's super easy. You pop it right in the microwave. It's ready in 2 minutes, and I get to enjoy a delicious meal that I know also hits my macros. Am I right? Get started at factormeals.com/nofilter50 off and use code nofilter50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code nofilter50 OFF. No filter 50 off. No filter 50 off at factormeals.com/nofilter50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. All right, give me the gavel because there's a lot to throw down. So we've had all this speculation about Blake Lively and this subpoena that we thought was the fake subpoena, and we didn't know what was the lawsuit. How is this happening? Dun 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 dun. Oh yes. Ooh, look at that. Mm, mm. So the subpoena is real. And we now know the lawsuit that the subpoena has been linked to. Okay. So apparently there was this, it's called a Doe lawsuit, like Jane Doe, John Doe. Usually, when you're keeping people anonymous, you refer to them as Jane Doe or John Doe. So there was a lawsuit that was filed in September. Okay. Filed in September. Um, Here's the thing, there was no person that was the person that was filing the lawsuit was a doe, and there were 10 other does, unnamed people, that were also part of this lawsuit. So anonymous person suing all these anonymous other people. Okay. And so through that they said these 10 people harmed this other person, and so therefore we need to dig up some text messages to prove our case. Okay. So then they issue the subpoena. I mean, it's still unclear how proper or improper the subpoena was. Again, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know for fact how proper this was because there wasn't a court stamp on it, but it did have an attorney's signature. Still up in the air and still kind of a question. And I think that this was something that Blake Lively's legal team was trying to hide in their back pocket until Without a Crystal Ball came out and was like, clip, yeah, found the smoking gun, right? So they filed this lawsuit at the end of September, which is interesting because then the subpoena came on October 1st, but this lawsuit was ultimately dropped right before Blake Lively filed her CRD complaint, which the New York Times had published. So it's presumed that this lawsuit was filed, and there's a reason that there was no Jane Doe, and there's there's a reason that there was no person named, and it was hidden under a doe, and why they were hiding all the other does in the, as the people that had attacked the original doe. So I'm going to stop saying doe because it's stupid. Blake Lively basically said that these 10 other people tried to harm her. Therefore, she needed the subpoena to go through so that she can obtain the evidence that she needed to move forward with her lawsuit. Okay. Like I said, the lawsuit was ultimately dropped. And so the reason the Wayfarer parties, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Brian Friedman, the reason they had no clue about this, and Brian Friedman just found out about this with the rest of us. The reason they didn't know about this is because, one, they were unnamed in the lawsuit, right? They were does in the lawsuit, and they were never informed about this. So my theory stands true, and I stand by my theory. I think Stephanie Jones is the one that spearheaded all of this. I think she reached out to Blake Lively because there's also, if you'll remember, there was mention of Leslie Sloan mentioning to Jennifer Abel about, we've seen the text messages. We've seen the messages. Get ready. We're going to sue you. We're coming for you. Something to that effect, right? So if, wait, what is this? Stephanie Jones named does 1 through 10 in her lawsuit. Yes, that is true. But so how did we all find out this information? Because it was anonymous. Well, the detective work of seemingly Without a Crystal Ball, maybe the Daily Mail, Josh Boswell from the Daily Mail, who reported this story. So it appears there's this company. Well, first of all, here's actually pull up. I have the lawsuit here for you. So here's the copy of the lawsuit. And if you'll notice, they have does 1 through 10. And so it says, the above named defendants, you are hereby summoned to answer the complaint in this section and to serve a copy of your answer. Or if the complaint is not served with this summons, to serve a notice of appearance on the plaintiff's attorney within 20 days after service, this summons exclusive of the, oh wait, is this the subpoena? I think I pulled up the wrong document, but anyway. So this is, I believe Stephanie Jones was one of the does listed. And so it seems like she's the one that still came to Blake Lively. Yes, here's the lawsuit. Yes. So the lawsuit was filed by Van Zandt Inc. Okay. What is Van Zandt Inc.? So Van Zandt Inc. is a company that was actually filed in Delaware. So first of all, shady that we're not even naming who the people are. We're kind of just putting this out there. We're kind of just trying to obtain these text messages from Stephanie Jones, which I'm pretty sure Blake Lively already knew about these text messages and already knew the contents of them because, like I said, Leslie Sloan in August had disclosed to Jennifer Abel that she had seen the messages and that they were planning some sort of action against her, right? So from there, it appears that they concocted this entire scheme. Somehow Leslie Sloan became privy to these messages. And I think it's because Stephanie Jones came to them and was like, listen, because she was upset that Jennifer Abel, Wayfair, and Justin Baldoni had left her PR firm and that Jennifer Abel was going to represent them independently. Stephanie Jones appears to have been upset about that. So she came to Leslie Sloan, she came to Blake Lively, and she's like, listen, here's the tea. And so I think from there, with the cherry pick text messages that I'm sure she laid out in a cute little PowerPoint, cute little Google Docs or whatever, however she laid this out to them, it's very clear that she orchestrated something, right? And so from there, I think that's when they launched this whole legal crusade against Baldoni. And this appears to be what I would call, my opinion, an untraceable smear campaign with the way that they did this, because they filed this lawsuit. It was anonymously. It was filed under this company, Van Zandt. And so the thing about Van Zandt is it was filed in Delaware. And when you file a company in Delaware, that's where you go to file shady companies or shell companies, right? I'm not accusing Blake Lively of doing that. But so this company was founded back in 2010 in Delaware. Now, people have a lot of reasons why they filed their companies in Delaware. Maybe it's tax related. Maybe it's because they want to remain anonymous. And so, like I said, this Delaware company did not have a name attached to it. Blake Lively's name was not on this company. However, this company also happened to have a brief momentary filing in California. And in California, you can't hide the way you can in Delaware. So in California, you have to have a name on the documents. And that's where we have this filing, which shows us that Van Zandt Inc., Van Zandt Incorporated, which was originally formed in Delaware, right? But for whatever reason, they had something that they had to do in California. And like I said, can't hide in California. So there is where we then see that the officer listed is Blake Reynolds, not Ryan Reynolds. And so it seems that she started the company back in 2010 and then for whatever reason had to do something in California. And I believe that this was in 2023. So it was during the production of It Ends With Us. And so you'll see here, Blake Lively is the chief executive officer. So she's the CEO, she's the secretary, and she's the CFO, chief financial officer. And then you have the agent for services of process, which is Eric Binder here in Los Angeles. He's the agent that receives things on her behalf for the company. So, but when were they married? They were married. Well, this is okay. She was Blake Lively when she formed this company in Delaware in 2010. Okay. But obviously, the California piece, which happened in, I believe, 2023. Look at somebody says, Zack, you're right about Delaware being shady, is putting it mild. Very, very shady. But listen, a lot of people have a lot of different reasons why they file their companies in Delaware. It just happens to be somewhere where you do it that's shady. Like you can get away with shit in Delaware, is my point. Okay. So the fact that this was formed in Delaware, and again, it could be tax related, it could be anonymity. Like there are a number of reasons why people do that, right? Eunice says most corporations and LPs and LLPs file in Delaware because of the business laws are well developed and pro debtor, and it's a pro debtor state. Yeah, listen, there are a number of reasons why people do that, but it can also be very shady. So when you have the lawsuit that's filed by this company that nobody really knows about, right? It's kind of hidden. You don't know who owns it because again, it was filed. It was form. It was founded. What is the word I'm thinking of? Yeah, it was formed in Delaware. So I think they thought that they could use this seemingly, my opinion, my words, uh, shell company to launch this lawsuit so that they can keep Blake anonymous. And then they have all the Does, right? The Jane and the John Does that were listed to keep Baldoni and his parties anonymous. That way they can obtain these text messages legally through this lawsuit that they're filing when it wasn't really clear how these 10 Does harmed Van Zandt, but Van Zandt was launching this lawsuit against them. All very shady. It seems like they used this shell company to file this sham lawsuit to then issue a formal subpoena to obtain the records and use them how they ended up using them, which was putting them in the CRD complaint and then leaking that to the New York Times. And it's interesting because there's this woman, MJ, on Threads right now, and she's like trying to be like, this is normal, and this is totally, she says there's a lot of noise about Blake Lively, a subpoena, and a dismissed lawsuit. Let's slow down, zoom out, and look at what Doe lawsuits are and why this one likely followed the rules. Sometimes, something wrong happened, but you don't know yet who did it exactly. Well, in this case, she knew who did it because she's accusing Baldoni of retaliating against her for harassment. So there was no need to hide behind the Does. Okay. She said that's where Doe lawsuit comes in. A John Doe or a Jane Doe lawsuit is what lawyers file when the plaintiff has been harmed by a leak, a breach of contract, anonymous defamation. Again, these don't apply in this case. But the exact identity of the person responsible isn't clear yet. We know who is responsible. She's accusing Baldoni and Jamie Heath and Wayfair and Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel. These are not people that we were unfamiliar with. And Stephanie Jones. There was no reason to keep them all anonymous unless you didn't want them to get tipped off about you trying to obtain their messages legally. But I've made it very, I made the argument in response to this by saying there's doing something legally and then there's doing something ethically. Okay. When you do something legally, you don't have to be right. You just have to be following the law, right? And sometimes the law is not always what's ethical. Okay. And so it appears, so yes, you can file a Doe lawsuit. And in these circumstances, yeah, that does apply. But in this case with Blake Lively, doesn't really apply. She said the person isn't quite clear just yet. In this case, we're pretty clear on who the persons were, right? And the plaintiff needs to use discovery tools like subpoenas to find out who's behind it. You already know who's behind it. You have Stephanie Jones who's cooperating, you know? She said it's a strategic and legal way to say, I don't know exactly who did this yet, but I'm preserving my right to sue them and I'm going to use the legal system to find out. Again, you already know who did this, which is why you outline it in the CRD complaint. ZM says, can this count as malice? Well, I think this does count as malice. I think this does show malice. It shows premeditation, at least, in my opinion. SGAX says no violations per the MJ lawyer. Yes, this is the more with MJ. And so her argument is that, like, it's standard to do Jane Doe, John Doe lawsuits. And I'm not disputing that. It is standard and they are necessary in certain instances. In this instance, no. But I can understand how if you squint your eyes and tilt your head, how you can be like, well, this is a smart move for Blake Lively. It's a smart move if you're trying to launch an untraceable smear campaign, which is kind of what I've called this from the beginning. From the minute the New York Times article went out, and there was this seemingly lawsuit against him with all these allegations. And I know how civil lawsuits work. You can claim anything, and you can also be protected from defamation for, filing it in a court document, right? I've known that. And so to me, the lawsuit or the New York Times leak was always super shady. So when you have the Delaware company, you're hiding your identity, and you have this shell company in Delaware. Well, I probably shouldn't say, that's my own conjecture, right? Shell company is speculation. Maybe it's not a shell company. I don't know that for a fact. But you have this shell company in Delaware. Then you have this seemingly sham lawsuit that you ultimately end up dropping come December, right before the New York Times leaks, right? And then you have the New York Times leak. Those three things are super shady, maybe isolated, right? A Delaware company doesn't necessarily have to mean it's absolutely shady, but it can be. A Doe argument doesn't necessarily have to be shady, but it can be. The New York Times reporting on a court case doesn't necessarily have to be shady, but it can be. And then when you put enough of those coinky dinks together, you think I just fell out of a coconut tree? It's too many coinkydinks in a row. If it quacks like a duck and looks like a duck and flaps like a duck, it's a fucking duck. Okay? I'm calling Blake Lively a duckity duck duck. A ducking duck. Okay? It's a duck. But let's continue to read MJ's thread and go through this more. MJ says, when are Doe lawsuits commonly used? Online defamation or harassment to mask anonymous accounts or fake reviewers and harassers. Okay. Confidentiality or NDA violations. K. Misconduct involving multiple parties. K. When you suspect that there's a group effort but don't have all the names yet. You had enough of the names. You even threw Jed Wallace's name out there. You had enough of the names. You were trying to protect yourself with this subpoena. There's nothing like, yes, legally you can do certain things and abuse the legal system, but you're still technically in the right? Because you followed the technicalities. That's why how he said Jesse Smollett, Bill Cosby, O.J. Simpson, all these people, Menendez brothers is a little more complicated, but like there are all these, and they're locked up forever. But like there are all these people that have gotten out off of technicalities. Does that mean that they weren't? Even Candace Owens in her crusade right now to like save Harvey Weinstein, he's still an immoral person, but there's a good chance that he can win because of the way he was locked up. It was an improper, or it appears to have been an improper way. There were corners that were cut. And so because that doesn't allow somebody their proper due process, well, then guess what? They get to use the court system to legally find a loophole to get out of it. You can abuse the court system. Okay. It's very obvious, in my opinion, that Blake Lively has been abusing this court system with the way she's gone about this. But my argument overall is that if you have a strong case, you know the players, and you have the evidence, you don't need to play all these games in the shadows. You would take your shot clear, and you would take your shot directly in the forehead because you know it's a kill shot, right? But in this case, and I'm speaking figuratively there, but in this case, you're playing dirty. You're being shady. You're in the shadows. And again, a Doe lawsuit, isolated. A Delaware company, isolated. A CRD complaint in California when you're filing a lawsuit in New York, sus, but isolated. A report in the New York Times where they happen to got tipped off on a good story, okay, fine, isolated. But when you put it all together, all the coinkydinks make one big donk. Okay. The coinkydinks make a big coinkydonk, and it's a coinkydon't. And we're gonna don't not do that no more. Okay. Done. This absolutely, in my opinion, shows that there was a very, very clear strategy that was implemented, and that there were many layers to it. And we wanted to keep the anonymity, right? Because we have the Delaware company that Blake Reynolds is an owner of, and she's now Blake Reynolds because in California, because again, that was 2023. But when she filed the company, she was Blake Lively. But also, we don't know the original filings because those have not been made public because again, Delaware, shady. Okay. Jen says, wouldn't the company suing need an affiliation with people that they are using? Well, everybody was a Doe. Alex says, Blake and Ryan are vindictive psychopaths. Hard to understand why they are willing to risk so much to destroy an innocent man. Total insanity. Well, excuse me. I think the reason that they did this is because they thought that they could get away with it. It was untraceable. However, Cristobal found out this information, smart. However, the Daily Mail found out about this information and released all the documents, smart. Because it takes the smoking gun away from Blake. Because I'm sure they're over there like, ha, 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 Brian Friedman's laughing about the subpoena, but little does he know how we got that. We actually did it legally, which MJ's over here trying to argue. They did it legally. They didn't do anything improper. Sure, technically they didn't do anything improper, right? Technically they followed the law and used the law, my opinion, abused the legal system, but yeah, they technically still followed the law with how they did it. They just happened to find every single loophole to jump through to try and do this. And again, you don't need loopholes if you have evidence. But So, sorry. Leisha says they obviously have gotten away with other things, and this is why they are so brazen. Exactly. And here's the thing. If you have one company in Delaware that nobody knew about for all these years, that tells me that maybe there's more companies in Delaware. That tells me that there's a whole other underbelly that at this point we may need to turn over and start looking into, because the Daily Mail started to look into this. What is it? Vazan? Is that how you say it? How do you say this name? Van Zan Company. What does Van Zan even mean? Is that, do we know Van Zan? Van Zan. Van Zan. They have a Van Zan xanthan gum. Interesting. Yeah, I don't really know much about the Vans, or like what Van Zan even means. Oh, we have records on Van Zan Inc. Yep. Okay, so well, here's the interesting thing. So there are these. So the Daily Mail, I guess, found this out, and I guess I actually just found it too unintentionally. But so their Van Zan's business was I guess they ordered some stuff from the UK, some furniture from the UK. And so this is the Taylor Swift tie-in, right? Because now Taylor Swift has some sort of tie and association to this Van Zan company. And so it appears that it seems like maybe Blake Lively had purchased furniture for the documentary, or not the documentary, for the music video of Taylor Swift's that she worked on. Lisa R says tax fraud too with them and their company. Listen, that's what I'm saying. When you start to see listen, Delaware is an immediate red flag. Does that mean everybody that files a company in Delaware is shady? No. But KS says, Zack, Delaware is not about shell companies. It's not? Then why do so many people file start shell companies there? Tax fraud all the way. I mean, listen, I don't know. I don't want to touch any of that. Louise says, Van is Vancouver and Zan is Tarzana, where Blake and Ryan were born. Do we think? But Blake and Ryan, when did Blake and Ryan meet? Holy shit. They met in 2010. So remember, they met on the set of the Green Lantern. If Louise, but Ryan Reynolds' name is not on this company. Well, we don't know if he's on the Delaware company, but he's definitely not on the California paperwork, right? It's only Blake Reynolds. But that's interesting. Why would she name the company Van Zan? And I agree, Vancouver, Tarzana, that kind of makes sense. But then why would she start this company and name it Van Zan in 2010 when that's when she had first met Ryan Reynolds, right? She had just met him at this point. So why would you file a company with that name? Because technically she was still dating Penn Badgley at the time. And he was still married to Scarlett Johansson at that time. That's too much of a coincidence. What other possible theories do we have for why we think this company is named Van Zan? Because Ryan Reynolds' name is not on any of this paperwork. She's just Blake Reynolds. MJ Merriweather says we need to contact the IRS. If this company was dissolved years ago, they can't file a lawsuit in 2024. Well, I don't think the company was fully dissolved because they brought it back in California in 2023. So there was a reason they brought it back again. And I'm assuming that the company was still active at the time of the lawsuit in 2024. Interesting. Everything Ryan is Van. Van City. That's right. Everything is Van. But again, that's weird because they weren't even together at the time. But Donna is right. Everything that Ryan does is Van. He's Van City. Everything is Van. But what is Van? Where does Van come from? Vancouver? Van Wilder? What does Van Wilder have to do with any of it? She was in love. How creepy is that, though? She had a boyfriend and he was married, and she started a company with Van? Guys, this is a deeper twist in all of it. That's so creepy. So I understand Zan is Blake. I understand Zan and Blake's. She used to get effing brig delivered to her. F brig delivered to her home. What is F brig? Maybe they were together. I mean, well, that's the speculation, is that they were clearly dating at the time. But anyway, okay, so the Taylor Swift tie-in. So it appears that. Hold on. Oh, shit. Duh, I'm pressing the wrong. It appears that Taylor Swift. So, like I said, they had the furniture. So there was this shipment of furniture that came from the UK over to New York, and it was shipped to Blake Lively. But I guess the person that received it is this woman named Molly Carrao. Molly Carrao, it says that she's a public relations officer who is also credited as a producer for Taylor Swift's music video, I Bet You Think About Me, Taylor's version, which was directed by Blake Lively. So it seems that Blake Lively purchased this furniture using this Van Zan company to purchase furniture for the Taylor Swift music video. So my question is, why are you using this Van Zan company in this moment to produce this video? And this was a recent video too, because let's see, when was that video? Taylor Swift's I Bet You Think It's About Me. This video was released in 2021. Or is this the Taylor's version? Let me make sure it's Taylor's version and not Scooter Braun's version. Yeah, it looks like this was I Bet You Think. Is this, yeah, Taylor's version. Here, I'll play a little snippet of it for you, because I know you're all such big Taylor Swift fans. No audio. Oh wait, this is the Chanel ad. But so this came out 3 years ago is when this music video was produced. And so it appears that Van Zan. So we have 2 total shipments from the British shop Inc. Came to Southampton, it came to Blake Lively, it came to Van Zan Inc. in the care of Molly Carrao. Who is Molly Carrao? And so, like, we know that Molly reps both Taylor Swift or she works with Taylor Swift, and she works with, this is when he was in the music video. So this is the music video that Blake Lively helped to direct, and that was also produced by this Molly person. But again, why are they using this company? It doesn't seem like they use this company very often, but why was this company used specifically with this project is what I have the questions about. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean that Taylor Swift has any involvement with Van Zan. This doesn't mean that Taylor Swift had any involvement with the initial lawsuit, but there is this Taylor Swift tie. Like, Taylor Swift keeps getting tied in and lumped in to all of this stuff. Look at, here's the cake. Is that the Van Zan cake? Is that the Van Zan chandelier? Where's what did we get from Van Zan? We had 2 shipments. It's unclear exactly. Oh, here are the products. We got chests, 10-piece bowls of chests, more bowls, screens, doors, fabric. All this random shit. Bowls, screens, and door fabric. Interesting. They delivered it to Van Zan Inc., care of Molly Carrao, care of 27 Old Oshawa Road in Southampton. Interesting. But here's the music video. So cute. Oh my God, it ends with us. Look at the rooftop scene. Oh my God, so cute. Blake did such a great job. Okay. That changes their timeline. Which part of the timeline changes from there? So I understand Zan is in Blake's. Oh, we already read that one. Van Wilder. What's the deal with Van Wilder? Fabrics delivered from Europe, yes, and that's what was used in the Taylor Swift music video. But again, why? What is this company? What does it have to do with anything? Why are we using Van Zandt and not Blakel, right? Because that's her other company is Blakel Inc. That's the company she used for It Ends With Us. Paula M says Taylor Swift is done. Click the like button, people. Van is Vancouver slang. Got it. Not furniture, Zach. It was furniture fabric. No, but there were bowls. There was a number of different things that were delivered. It was bowls, screens, and door fabric. So furniture fabric, but I guess there was also chests, and a 10-piece of bowls. I'm looking at the cargo report right now. Again, I have questions. I have too many questions. Ryan was in the movie Van Wilder. Interesting. They use Van Zandt when they don't want people to see their names linked to an address, I guess. Interesting. The only business the firm has been publicly recorded doing before the Manhattan lawsuit was importing goods from the UK. Yes, and that was for the Taylor Swift music video that she was working on with this Molly person. And Molly, I guess, did I Bet You Think About Me, and she did All Too Well, the short film, both in 2021. All right, Molly, we see you. I'm pretty sure the mommy sleuths are going to start digging. That's decor. Yeah. Oh, well, sorry. A chest is furniture. Corral worked for Vision PR, Zach. It just keeps getting messier and messier. Again, the timeline of all of this is so off, though, with the timeline of when they met and the timeline of when this company was founded. And again, what was the company for? What was the company intended to do? The company has Blake Reynolds listed in 2010. No, it doesn't. Blake Reynolds wasn't listed, or Blake Reynolds' name wasn't put on it until 2023 when they had to file in California. She was likely Blake Lively when she started this company back in 2010. And then eventually, but again, or with Delaware, you can be shady and you can hide who's actually behind the company. Miss Busted Can of Biscuit says U.S. Custom Records list Van Zandt as receiving 2 shipments of furniture. Yes, guys, I know. I just read the report. Daily Dose of Donna says, to be honest, it's not odd that they have a ton of businesses. You do this when you have a lot of money and need tax write-offs. Yeah, that's why I'm saying if there's one shady company in Delaware, there are going to be other companies. And I'm going to be very curious to see what these other companies are doing and how this whole thing, like there's probably a whole shit ton of shit that's going to be coming out now that people are going to be digging. They're going to have their tax attorney really try to comb through everything and hide as much as they possibly can. But also remember my friend Jeff, who co-hosts Disaster Daters with me, who used to date Blake Lively's brother. Remember, he said that they have companies and that there were lawsuits with those companies that Leslie Sloan would help bury. He was going all off on it on Twitter a couple weeks ago when all of this first started breaking. He's like, "See, I told you guys. I've known this about Blake." And he's known about Blake, and apparently there were lawsuits against her company as well that got buried. Now we're starting to see all the different company names. We have Blakel Inc. We have Van Zandt Inc. I don't know. I have not seen any original documents from. I have not seen any. Maybe we can find this on Reddit. Somebody's saying on Reddit is where they have the original document. I don't know how anybody would even get access to the original. Okay, more document. Okay, more details. This is from Pretty Wing 7301 in the It Ends With Us lawsuits page. Okay, Bear saying here. Actually, I'm just going to pull it up on the screen so we can crack this code together. We'll review it together. Okay. Here's a direct link to the case filed in New York. Not sure credibility of the site, so download the files at your own risk. Got it. And then Van Zandt Inc. Wow, these people have an insane amount of companies for taxes to hide business dealings. This seems to be a more personal company that they use for private things like importing goods from Britain for their second home. Investing investing to note the import docs show that this is going to a woman named Corral, who also lives in New York. Yep, works with Lively, Reynolds, Swift, Jones. Starting to see a trend here with all of them living so close together. Who is Corral? She's a producer in Taylor Swift's music. But yep, we know all this. She is, and if you dig further, you find out she's now working for Vision PR. Interesting. So she's currently working for Vision PR. The court doc is insanely vague, suggesting they didn't really know that they were acting on suspicion and using the case filing to subpoena for the phone, then try to find some evidence to support their theory. Yes, well, I think they already had a theory, and I think Stephanie Jones had already delivered this to them. Important to point out, filed a discontinuance on 12/19, the day before the New York Times post hit. The more I look at this particular point, the more I'm thinking they created a fake case to subpoena unnamed people, Doe's, i.e. Jones, to get the phone, copy the text messages, and then cancel the fake lawsuit. This covers Jones, who can say, oh yeah, I got sued for the phone. Let's not forget Jones is married to Ryan and Blake Lively's WME agent. She probably showed her Abel's text messages over dinner. Yep, yep, yep. Exactly my theory. It seems like me and Reddit are on the same page here. Someone else said, oh my God, Taylor can't get away from this now. I give Tay Tay the benefit of the doubt, but this is too much. Friedman has the abuse of process evidence. He needs to move forward on killing the privileges that protect the New York Times and Lively. Ryan. Well, and here's the thing. He just found out about this with Crystal Ball. Crystal Ball is the one that kind of put all this information out there. And I guess that's when the Daily Mail reached out to um, Brian Friedman. And Daily Mail said, hey, do you have a comment on this? And he said no. Amy says, who is Eric Rothschild? Wasn't Eric her brother's name? That's who Jeff was dating, Eric. Who is Eric Rothschild? It's under his name in Delaware, confirmed on the California Secretary of State. So are the original Delaware documents with the Secretary of State? Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Amy. I guess we're gonna have to look deeper into that. But yeah, get it all, Friedman. He's gonna go hard. When he said into oblivion, he meant into it. But now he has this information. So now we know that the subpoena was real. But now I feel like if anything, all this other shit just proves further malice. It proves this was premeditated. It proves so much more. Millennial Mom says, is this why they wanted the Time magazine coverage? Is this what they were trying to get ahead of? Oh, yeah, that's what I predicted on the show yesterday or the day before. Thank you, Millennial Mom, for reminding me. I said something is going to drop, and they wanted this to come in. And I was like, I think I said it on yesterday's show. I was like, what are they trying to distract us from? This was Crystal Ball was probably digging, and the Daily Mail was probably digging, and they were trying to get the story out there, and they were trying to do questions and whatnot. And that's why Blake wanted to make sure she did a big splash for this Time magazine thing. It's probably why Leslie Sloan, I'm assuming, helped orchestrate this whole thing, why they had the Cheryl Lynn woman come out and talk about the donation. And apparently, I said yesterday that they made a donation of 200,000, which was true, but not entirely true. They actually in 2019 made a donation of 2 million, and then in 2020 made a separate donation of 200,000 in George Floyd's honor. So the original donation that was referenced in the Time magazine top 100 most influential people feature of calling Blake a Titan. She's sure a fucking Titan, all right. She's fucking Goliath in this shit. But so that donation that's referenced in there is $2 million. So apparently that's the price that Cheryl Lynn was willing to accept. $2,200,000 is what was worth giving the endorsement to Blake Lively 5 to 6 years after that donation was made. Who knows if there were more donations that have been made? And who knows if those donations went through companies like Van Zandt? Because I'm sure that may have been where some of the donations went through. I don't know. Lemon Bake says, so Blake and Ryan lied about when they got together. Well, I mean, we always kinda knew it was a little sus, right? They met on the set of The Green Lantern, which was in 2010, but he was married to Scarlett Johansson, she was dating Penn Badgley, then production wraps for The Green Lantern. By the end of the year, she breaks up with Penn Badgley, then he divorces Scarlett Johansson, and then by 2011, they're dating, they're suddenly now fully together, and then they're married on the plantation by 2012. Paula says Ryan uses Van City for his X and IG accounts because he's from Vancouver. I wonder if Van Zan company is his and Taylor's. Well, Van Zan has nothing to do with Taylor, aside from it being used for Taylor Swift's music video for the items that were purchased. Or we're assuming that it was for Taylor Swift's music video because it was in orchestration with this Molly person. Blake directed the music video. Molly was a producer on the music video. So we can only assume that this was for the music video. It's crazy. Again, hello. Sorry for the typo, the elliptical. Thank you, Busted Can of Biscuits. Take the red pill and I'll show you how deep the rabbit hole gets. The Matrix. Listen, I think we all took the red pill and we are going down the rabbit hole. And Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are becoming more and more exposed. But here's the thing. It's one thing to get dragged for your shady interviews and to get dragged for you being bullies in Hollywood. This is a whole new layer of this madness, you guys. Like, this is way deeper. This is all teeth. When she says no teeth, this is all teeth. No teeth in Taylor Swift reconciliation incoming in 3, 2. No, I think Taylor Swift, if anything, is really going to try and stay away from all of this. I read Ezra's reply out loud to my husband, a litigator, and his first reply was, "It is not common in civil law. I've never seen." Exactly. So to reference what you're saying, Wendy, Blake's, sorry, not Taylor, Blake's lawyer is Ezra. And Ezra's the one that was brought onto the case, and she's the one that's helping to argue the Me Too laws and the protections and the privileges that should protect Blake when it comes to harassment here in California, right? So Ezra's newer to this case with Blake Lively because the lawyer that filed this original fake lawsuit or whatever, very different person. But so what Ezra basically said, as Wendy referenced here, because I forgot, Brian Friedman and Ezra both issued statements. Ezra said that this is very common, as with this MJ lawyer on Threads. MJ's out here being like, this is standard, this is normal. And listen, as Wendy and Wendy's husband, who is a litigator, and from the attorneys that I've spoken to, this is not common. This is actually not common at all. It's well, I mean, it can be. That's the thing. It can be common to file a Jane Doe or John Doe. You know, I listen. The web gets more and more tangled with Blake as the day goes on, and I don't even know how people can still defend all of this and still be like, because again, they're isolating the incidents, right? They're like, well, it's normal for the New York Times to report on this, and they believe that it's true, and Blake was telling the truth, and they're like, but it's normal to file these John Doe and Jane Doe arguments. It's about protecting the victims, and then they're like, but it's normal to do that. Yeah, maybe isolated, it's normal, okay? Or you can make the argument that it's normal. You don't have to be shady to file a company in Delaware. It's suspicious, but you don't have to be shady to do it. When you put it all together, it don't look so good. Again, if you have evidence and a strong case, you don't need all these little tactics. It's Eric Binder. He's Ryan's agent and he's in the Delaware company. Okay. Eric Binder. Let's look up Eric Binder. Oh, he's a business manager. So he's Ryan Reynolds' business manager? Eric Binder, Ryan. It looks like he's Ryan Reynolds' business manager, if I'm not mistaking this. He is a business manager, and it may appear. Let's see. Eric Binder. Yeah. Seems like he may have helped them get this all set up. He may help manage their stuff. Again, very shady. Very, very shady. Oh, this person on X says, cannot wait to see how Blake supporters spin this BS. Also, Doe's 1 through 10 is who Stephanie Jones believes is behind the website made to share bad things about Stephanie Jones. So why would Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have any case or grievances with Doe's 1 through 10? I need next year to speed up. Yes, because Stephanie Jones also uh, has her own lawsuit, and she has her does and all that stuff. I don't know. It's all very complicated and very colluded, and I think that's intentional. Me Meme says Delaware hides everything. That's why Meghan and Harry's companies and charities are registered there. Yeah, mommy sleuths and daddy sleuths getting it done. I know that's right. You did, Zach. I tried to tell you earlier in this chat. I did. What did I do? This is why Friedman said jury trial from the beginning. There was no doubt. But here's the thing. Friedman didn't even know how deep this shit went because he just found out about Van Zandt himself. Friedman, their team is probably like, wet in their panties. MJ Mayweather says, sorry, but that subpoena appears to be invalid since it was not signed by a judge, and that is why they tried to hide it. Yeah, there's something about the subpoena that is still, it feels improper. It looks like they tried every channel that they could to protect it. But the more we learn about this stuff, and the fact that like the Daily Mail outed that there was no official court stamp on the subpoena, it's not looking good. Vancouver is Ryan Reynolds' hometown, and Zan is Tarzana. Yep, we cracked that code. But my thing was like, Blake founded this company in 2010. But also, if Eric Binder is the one that's listed on the original formation documents, and he's Ryan Reynolds' business manager, this looks worse for those affair rumors. I'm even trying to think of like, okay, how am I gonna break this all down in like an easy to digest way for like a TikTok or an Instagram? Because this is the twistiest, shadiest thing. I'm gonna have to like make a part 1 and a part 2. Is the law firm that filed the Van lawsuit the same law firm that's currently repping them? Well, they have multiple people that are repping them. Because there are multiple defendants in that lawsuit from Justin Baldoni because it's Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and Leslie Sloan of Vision PR and the New York Times. So they all have different counsel. I don't know if that original attorney is on this case though. Miss Busted Cannabiscuit says this is why to the fought giving Friedman the extent. This is why they fought giving Friedman the extension. I wonder if guys, can we spell check a little bit before we do these? I'm like trying to. I feel like I'm trying to crack the code while I'm reading some of these. I wonder if Friedman did know, but knew more of a gut punch if we unearthed it. No, I don't think he knew at all. To be honest with you, I think they were trying to figure out the subpoena piece because I mean, I don't know who found this out or how they found it out and how Krista Ball ultimately, because again, you had to have known to look into Van Zandt. And then once you look into Van Zandt, then you see it's linked to Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, or at least Blake Reynolds. And then from there, you start to dig deeper, and then you see, oh, the lawsuit was filed by Van Zandt, and so it's because they have a number of different companies, and so it's crazy. Go, Friedman, go. Do you think Blake and Ryan will try to settle now? I mean, I don't know what it's going to take for them to really just try to settle because I think it's getting bigger and badder and worse by the day at this point. Daily Mail got a comment from Blake Lively's lawyer, so they knew it was coming out. Yeah. Yep. They're about to donate $400 million to Justin Baldoni. I know that's right. I'm late. Is Taylor going down? Well, here's the thing. Taylor's so embedded in this, and there's so much associated. If there's something shady that has gone down with Van Zandt that we don't know about yet outside of this Baldoni case, and Van Zandt has already been tied to Taylor Swift's music video with this Molly woman, Taylor Swift and her association to these people, to these dragons, is only going to continue to tear her down. If she's not complicit in a ton of shit herself. I mean, who's to say that she also doesn't have all of this same shit going on in her own world? And she's going to want to really get away from them because listen, you are the company that you keep. And if all the dragons are playing together and they all know how to do these tricks and laugh about it at the end of the day, Taylor Swift is looking worse and worse. Pledged or donated? They donated to the NAACP. Oh my god, I live for Zack saying coconut tree. Listen, I think they thought that we fell out of a coconut tree. I don't think they realized how much this is like. Did you guys see that documentary, Don't F with Cats, where the internet sleuths went on and they were like digging? Like, is there gonna be a Netflix documentary about us one day and we're gonna be sitting there and we're like, we were the internet sleuths that helped take down the giants, Blake and Ryan. We solved the case. Ha ha ha. You know? Maybe. Yeah, the subpoena definitely does not seem valid at all. Okay, anything else? Any other questions, thoughts, feelings? Oh my god, there's so god, the live chat is lit right now. Guys, hit the like button if you're enjoying this, by the way, and be sure to subscribe. We're so close. We're at 93,000. We're getting close to 100K. So if you have not subscribed yet, please, please, please subscribe on YouTube. I'm Zack Peter here on YouTube. Please, please, please subscribe. We're so close. Miss Busted. Oh wait, sorry. Amy says, found statement and designation by foreign company, and it lists Eric Rothschild in 20. Okay, so not Eric Binder. Okay, so it's Eric Rothschild. Eric Rothschild. Rothschild or Rothschild? Somebody's saying it's Eric Rothschild. He's business agent to Ryan Reynolds. Okay, interesting. Yeah, Eric Rothschild. Van Zandt Inc. allegedly not allowed to legally file a lawsuit. Forfeited corporation. Oh, is that why the lawsuit was dropped? If this is true, they are cooked. They have also need to be fully investigated because I'd bet money they pulled this type of shit before and have probably been getting away with it for years and years. Yep, I agree. Seems the company was revived to file the lawsuit, but the company was revived in 2023. So unless there's some real, like, sorry, I'm reading the Reddit threads. Here, I'll pull it up so we can read them together. Okay. Okay, no, there's another one. This is not true. Oh, there's a separate company. Okay, I thought this originally also, as I saw it here and went down the rabbit hole, there is an active version of Van Zandt in NYC. The address is MLM Management Partners. Okay. Is MLM Management Partners. MLM Management is reps Ryan Reynolds. One of the partners at MLM is Eric Binder, who also appears to be an agent for Van Zandt Inc. in Delaware, founded in 2010 and dissolved in 2013. Eric Rothschild was the other agent. Eric Rothschild owns Van Zandt in San Diego. I have no clue what any of this means, except that Lively and Reynolds were in some kind of business partnership in 2010 with agents Eric Binder and Eric Rothschild. Maybe they bought property together, but clearly they were together since September 2010. And it was serious. Yeah, because they have a whole fucking company together. Van Zandt. This is so shady. Yes, he was still married to Scarlett in 2010. See, I told you guys. I told you. Someone rightfully said that perhaps Blake Lively was added after 2010. She was involved when it was dissolved in 2013. Oh, maybe the company was originally founded by, but why was Zan? But yeah, but the Zan doesn't make sense. This is why Zan is Tarzana. Look, we're going through this with the Reddit sleuths. Okay, that's not the right one. The correct Van Zandt Inc. is under Blake and Ryan's address. Yours is under a different address. Blake Reynolds. Yep. I mean, listen, regardless, there's some shady shit going on. We just found out about Van Zandt in the last 24 hours, and shit's already popped off. They're the same people: Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, Eric Rinder, Eric Rothschild. They were involved in the Delaware one. The NYC one is linked to Eric Rinder, though through the office address, he is Ryan Reynolds' business agent. Eric Rothschild has another company in San Diego called Van Zandt. They are linked in some way. Whether they are branches or not of the original, I don't know, as I can't access any further public records, but there is another Van Zandt established in 1998. So I think that the van with Vancouver and Zan has to do with Tarzana might just be a coincidence. The lawsuit index number confirms that Van Zan Inc. is a New York corporation. Edit, it's Eric Binder. They're all linked. This is like, what was that show with the plane crash? Manifest? It's all connected. Did anybody watch that show? It was actually a good show. The address is fishy, though. It's not the one I found registered in the active corporation address. Listen, the Reddit sleuths are on it, you guys. Delaware is used as a tax haven more often than not. Delaware does not have tax income from intangible assets held by the holding companies, effectively allowing the corporation to shift income to Delaware, where it's not taxed, and then deduct the royalty payment on the state tax returns in other states. I'm wondering if it's not Brian Friedman who leaked this information. We don't know how that YouTuber, Crystal Ball, got the information. I also looked at Ryan and Blake's companies, but didn't find anything relevant when Aviation Gin photographer lawsuit came out. This is really specific research or divine intervention. The timing is suspiciously convenient. Today is the deadline for the amended complaint. Also, now I'm wondering if the Time magazine is not because Lively knew that this would come out. She had to know that people were digging and would eventually find out. Yeah, the Time magazine thing I think was way too suspicious, and I said that from the beginning. I wondered about the Time magazine thing too. Is this what you guys do all day? You just read Reddit and like you read the threads on Reddit? Because this is actually like kind of fun. Sorry. I'm just like now going on a little deep dive on Reddit because I'm like, this is quite interesting. These theories are fun to read. Now I get why people like Reddit so damn much. Soy Nausea says they expected this, and that's why they fought so hard for the attorney's eyes only. Remember, because they wanted to protect proprietary business information, such as business plans. They knew this shit was coming. You're right. This is why they wanted the attorney's eyes only protection. This is exactly why they wanted the attorney's eyes only protection. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Because remember, they wanted business practices. And remember, they wanted to protect the privacy of third parties. We were thinking that the privacy that they wanted to protect was Taylor Swift's, right? And that's when Blake's hair care company, remember, they came out and they issued a letter to the judge saying, hey, you said that third parties are protected. Therefore, we're not going to turn over any sort of business documents that are relevant to that are not relevant to It Ends With Us because we had nothing to do with that. Now it's all looking so much more shady, you guys. Oh, wait, what is this? Sorry for the typos. Working on my fit. I be up in the gym, working on my fitness. He's my witness. Ooh wee. Yes, Crystal Ball is good. Wow. 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 Literally, wow. Trying to hide the affair. I mean, listen, the affair rumors are looking so much worse. Like it was just speculation before. Now I think it's well beyond speculation. Like this shit is deep, deep, 10 feet deep. Ryan and Blake trying to cover up all the shit with the donations. Their PR team is working overtime. I don't know if they can work enough overtime. Listen, again, had they not pulled this shit, and I think they thought that they had an ironclad case. I think this is exactly why they were fighting for the attorney's eyes only. I think we're still seeing all of the PR tactics. Affair. Oh, P, are you behind? The affair with Blake and Ryan, everyone was assuming they had an affair back in 2010, The subpoena is related to It Ends With Us and therefore not attorney's eyes only. Yes, but I'm pretty sure they were going to they were going to play some sort of game with the attorney's eyes only thing to be like, well, this company has nothing to do with it, so the company is protected. Even though there was probably, if you dig more into that company, there was probably some sort of, something related. I don't know. They're playing every card that they can. They're trying to use every hook, line, and sinker, and it's just continuing to blow up in their face because now they're just trying to hide behind the smoke and mirrors, but they live in the glass house and it's cracking, and at some point it's going to fully shatter. Dr. A Heat says, I was expecting some shady coming down, but I truly didn't expect something this nuts. Honestly, like it's wild. AT says, "Are you all this sketch? Is this just the norm for the industry? I think it kind of is." What do you mean, are you all? You're lumping me into the you all? Kudos to Without a Crystal Ball for finding and getting. Yeah. I mean, damn. Thank you, Zack. Got it regarding the affair. Somehow her name under Van Zandt is Blake Reynolds. Child, this is some, yep, shady ass mess. Yep. Smoking gun. Thank you. Yep. Did somebody send Cristobal like fans in here? Where everyone's like, Cristobal, Cristobal. I've been giving her the kudos and the credits and the flowers. Everyone's like, don't forget to mention Cristobal. I mentioned her. I think all the credit. I think she deserves the credit if she's the one that cracked the real case. I mean, I kind of feel like maybe somebody tipped her off. I'm curious as to who that could have been, but maybe she truly dug it up on her own. Some people are like, I don't know who Cristobal. It ends with us was not named in the lawsuit. Interesting. Weren't they one of the does? Regarding fake Van Zandt name, maybe it's a play on Ryan Reynolds' Van crap. Yeah, which comes from Vancouver. The Van part is him, but people are assuming that the Zan has to be Tarzana, which is where Blake's from. But then again, when this company started, like that's creepy because they had just met. They just met in 2010. Unless they had not met on the set of the Green Lantern and they had known each other a lot prior and were closer a lot prior, and maybe he was cheating on Scarlett Johansson. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Bren says, if I had to hide as much shit as Blake, I'd have profound mental health issues too. Yeah, but the thing is, she's blaming Justin Baldoni for the profound mental health issues. Elena says, every single day, this thing gets crazier and crazier. Just when I think, like, okay, I think the story's dying down, I don't think there's a new twist. Boom, twist. All right. Hit the like button, guys. Hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying. My friend Donna is going to be going live in about 15 minutes. So go show her some love on Daily Dose of Donna. Thank you guys. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Creeby says Ryan having postpartum started on this. She really does have a crystal ball, right? She can see. We need a live with Ask Two Lawyers. I know. I feel like it's too late to ask, but I thought the same thing, that things were dying down. Nope. All right. Love you. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. I will talk to you on Monday. We'll have members only this weekend, so stay tuned for a notification. I love you. I appreciate you. Love, 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 love. Oh, she's exactly like Amber Heard. She's worse than Amber. I've said this from the beginning, that this was going to be way bigger than Depp v. Heard, and that Blake was going to end up being way worse than Amber Heard was. It's way bigger. Way, way bigger. All right. Thank you guys. Love you. Appreciate you. I will talk to you on Monday. Ciao for now. Unless you're a member of members only, then stay tuned for that. All right. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Ciao for now. Hit the like button, subscribe, leave an Apple Podcast review, all the things. Please support. Please support. Please support. Follow me at Justin Zack. Follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack, and I'll see you later. Ciao.